An obese girl was given to a poor farmer as punishment. She didn't know he owned thousands of acres. The sun was burning down on the small, dusty town when they brought her to the village square. Her head hung low, tears tracing silent lines down her flushed cheeks. To the townspeople, she was an object of ridicule, a spoiled, overweight city girl who had mocked the wrong people. To her, this was humiliation beyond imagination. Her parents had disowned her after a scandal she never fully understood. The magistrate, with a cruel smirk, pronounced her fate: "You will serve the poorest farmer in this village until your debt is repaid." Gasps rose from the crowd. Somewhere in the front, an old man in worn, patched clothes stepped forward, his skin tanned like weathered leather, his hands cracked from years of work. His name was Elias. They called him the poor farmer. And with nothing more than a curt nod, he accepted the girl into his custody. She was shoved toward him, her expensive city clothes caked with dust. She looked at him with a mixture of fear, resentment, and disbelief. This was her life now. Before we go deeper into this journey of pain, resilience, and unexpected transformation, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of the human spirit, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to Royal Stories, and tell us in the comments what kindness means to you. Your support helps us bring more true to life, heart-touching stories to you. The first days at Elias's farm were a waking nightmare for her. The air smelled of hay and damp soil. There was no air conditioning, no soft bed, only a creaky cot in a wooden shed. Her hands blistered from trying to lift water buckets. Her legs ached from walking across uneven fields. And everywhere she went, she heard whispers. The villagers judged her, laughed at her size, and dismissed her as useless. But Elias never said a cruel word. He gave her instructions in a calm, steady tone, then left her to struggle on her own. She hated it. She hated the mud, the sweat, the insects. But most of all, she hated the man who had become her keeper. She thought he pitied her. She thought he saw her as weak. What she didn't know was that Elias had been quietly watching, weighing her spirit, waiting for something inside her to change. Weeks passed, and her body began to ache in ways she had never felt before. Her manicured hands turned rough. Her soft city muscles grew stronger. She still stumbled often, but there was something new in her eyes: anger, yes, but also determination. One morning, she woke before sunrise. She watched the first light paint the fields gold and, for a moment, forgot her misery. She saw Elias out there, already at work, moving with a quiet dignity she couldn't explain. One evening, after a long day of harvesting, Elias gave her a plate of fresh bread and warm stew. She devoured it without a word, but when she looked up, she saw something strange in his expression: pride. Not in himself, but in her. It confused her. Nobody had ever looked at her that way before. Over the next few months, she began to notice things. Elias never begged the townspeople for help, yet people always respected him. He gave away sacks of grain to families in need. He repaired fences for neighbors without asking for payment. She started hearing whispers, not of mockery, but of admiration. The story she had been told, that Elias was the poorest man in the village, suddenly seemed less believable. The turning point came one night when a fierce storm swept through the valley. Heavy winds tore through the crops, and rain turned the fields into rivers of mud. Elias worked through the night, battling the storm to save what he could. Without thinking, she ran out into the rain to help him. The mud pulled at her feet, the wind stung her face, but she pushed on. For the first time, they worked side by side, wordless, united against the chaos. When the dawn broke, she was soaked, shivering, and exhausted, but she was smiling. She had done something she never thought possible. It was after that night that Elias finally told her the truth. They were walking through a quiet stretch of land when he stopped and pointed toward the hills. "That's my land," he said. She turned, shocked, as her eyes followed the endless fields stretching to the horizon. All of it, She whispered. He nodded. And more beyond that, land means nothing if it's not used to help people. That's why I live simply. Wealth is measured in lives touched, not coins counted. Her breath caught in her throat. All this time, she had believed the punishment was being sent to a poor farmer. But in reality, she had been given to a man whose riches went beyond anything money could measure, a man whose humility had taught her more than a lifetime of luxury ever could. By the time her sentence was over, she didn't want to leave. She was no longer the bitter, spoiled girl who had arrived months earlier. Her body was healthier, her heart lighter. She had learned to work, to give, and, most importantly, to see worth in people for who they were, not what they owned. Elias offered her a choice: return to the city, or stay and help him run the farm. She chose to stay. Years later, she would stand in that same village square, but this time not in shame. She stood beside Elias as his partner, speaking to the townspeople about compassion, perseverance, and second chances. Her life had been rebuilt, not with wealth, but with purpose. And every time someone new came to the farm seeking work or refuge, she welcomed them with the same calm dignity Elias had shown her on that first day. If this story has touched your heart and reminded you of the power of kindness and humility, please like this video, share it so others can be inspired, and subscribe to Royal Stories. Your engagement keeps these life-changing stories alive. Special request. Before you leave, tell us in the comments, what does a second chance mean to you? Your words might inspire someone who desperately needs hope today.